Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, members of IOD, my co-panelists. It's always an honor to be part of the session, and I'm glad to be back in the London Convention of IOD. I remember last year we spoke about a lot on change management, and today one of the core agendas is to talk about how boards can enhance the investments, obviously taking note of ESG compliance. 10,000 years back, when the world saw something very significant, discovery of agriculture. Why is that quite significant? Is because what we see today is all because of this particular discovery. The genesis of human settlements and civilization as a concept we see today started because of this particular discovery. If you fast forward 10,000 years, today, machine learning and artificial intelligence is making significant strides. Something happened in the early 20th century. When Mr. Faraday in 1831 theorized electricity, it took almost 100 years for it to become a reality. 100 years. So nobody was believing that electricity is possible. You know why? Because life expectancy was very low. And for the existing generation to believe in a concept that was not visible in their lifetime was quite difficult. Something we don't see, we don't believe. By the time 1920s happened, significant strides were made and we saw massification of electricity. Why is this important? Because the first stage of growth the world saw, the capitalism, the rise of capitalism, machine assembly line, not machine learning, but the assembly line, it all started in the early 20th century. And so did the problem of managing companies through a board process. So if you ask me, boards 1.0, it started because of massification of electricity and the need at that time for essentially boards and corporate governance. Individuals who were entrepreneurs brought their own capital, and we saw entrepreneurial capitalism at its best in the early 20th century. And this graduation, this shift from entrepreneurial capitalism to essentially managerial capitalism is what led to the genesis of boards. Life moved on a few decades later, and post World War II, we saw the second phase because of communication technology. What was the key change which happened in 1947 is transistor. And that invention resulted in what we saw, a massive phase of globalization. The second phase of globalization essentially led to a significant requirement for, again, boards to change their style. Reason, we saw many pension funds, private equity, venture capitalist money going into these companies for expansion, and hence the role of boards to manage multi-ethnic and multi-geography organizations. Time has come for boards 3.0 because of what we see today. There is a lot of turbulence. The world is talking about change in tariffs. We are talking about significant geopolitical challenges, and all of this, will the ESG theme get missed out? And why do I say that the ESG theme can get missed out? It's because when Ukraine happened and there was a need for natural gas and crude oil to take care of the short-term gains, everyone lost count of the long-term pain. I think entire Europe switched gears at that time to, again, natural gas and crude oil. What are companies essentially searching for? We might think companies are searching for earnings, profits. There have been debates whether ESG and capitalism can go hand in hand or not. I beg to differ. Because in my opinion, what companies are searching for is profit as an outcome. But when I go to a doctor, I don't know the disease if I'm sick. And the doctor asks me the symptoms. Those symptoms are what define the outcome. And the symptom in the context of an organization is productivity. Productivity is what is a perpetual search that organizations are thriving for to be competitive. That eventually results in earnings and well-wishes and welfare of employees and stakeholders at large. And can machine learning and AI take a lead role in improving productivity in an ESG compliant way? My co-panelists, with the diversity they bring to the table, are going to talk a lot about their experiences. And given that my background is electronics engineering and we do a lot of work in machine learning and AI, I thought it would be prudent to look at how AI can actually enhance productivity that is ESG compliant. If you look at the different challenges that we face today from ESG standpoint, each element of investment decision making can get enhanced by utilizing machine learning and AI. Whether it is pertaining to data analysis, and why do you really need data analysis? Because the policies that you're going to implement for the organization, are they in future going to be ESG compliant? Are there going to be changes in the regulations that are going to be contrary to the expectations and the decision making, and hence in hindsight the boards will say we made a wrong decision? Automation of reporting, transparency. Can productivity be increased? Can automation, again, AI can help in automation to again implement policies that can lead to better compliance? Most importantly, all of us want to, in a globalized environment, talk about equality. What does equality really mean? I was talking in one of the forums in 2013 when Greece crisis was there, and somebody asked me, what's the way to solve this crisis? I said, one of the things I believe can be done, but I'm not sure you will be able to, is to actually change the week to an 8-day week from a 7-day week in Greece. What do you mean? We have all learned there are 52 weeks, 365 days. It starts on Jan 1st, ends on 31st December. The real issue in Eurozone, in my opinion, is the difference in productivity between eastern part of the Europe and western part of the Europe. And can you change productivity overnight? No. So what do? You increase production. If you make an 8-day week instead of a 7-day week, you'll have one extra day to work. Automatically that needs to change the productivity. So the point I'm trying to drive is equality can happen if you use AI to train those who know less, whether that training is on language, whether that training is on skills, whether that training is on value-added jobs, and that concept that AI is going to kill jobs, again, in my opinion, is not true, because when we graduated from a telephone to a cellular or the cell phone, we thought linesmen will lose jobs, but the number of jobs that telecom towers created was far higher. The point I want to talk about is, and the panel is going to discuss, is how ESG can bring wise decision making in investments that aligns with strategic roadmap for organizations, that includes operational excellence, the VUCA challenges, diversity, equality, and the governance. But for me, each of these elements, there has to be specificity, objectivity, to be able to deliver on those goals. The first and foremost point that we need to remember is that while organizations want profit as an outcome, the objective or the path can be achieved through productivity. And if the policies today, if the tools that we use are compliant to ESG, if I go and tell an organization that by using a tool, you can train people, create equality, the S element of ESG will be taken care in a cost-effective manner, which effectively improves your profitability, 99.999% of the companies will actually adopt. The problem is that we do not link the profit motive with aspects of the input side, that is productivity. So in my opinion, productivity driven through ESG compliance that improves profitability will lead to adoption of ESG through self-regulation, then actually driving it through policy making. On that note, I just want to mention that whether it is better access to resources, whether it is improving cost, whether it is training diverse workforce and create equality, whether it is need and desire for organizations to have more profits, all of this can be achieved through machine learning and AI that is ESG compliant. And in my opinion, you're going to see, like it or not, in the next 15-20 years, massive changes because of what machine learning and AI is going to do to the planet. And interestingly and incidentally, majority of the initiatives are ESG compliant rather than in search of that mirage which hasn't actually materialized. So I'd like to invite Dr. Nadesh now to share words of